Hey there, and welcome to another Curtis Stage video tutorial. Today's tutorial is in Photoshop, but we're going to be doing a little logo design. I'm going to start off doing logo design on paper with pencil and pen, and then we're going to learn how to, and just talk about some ideas on how to, kind of generate a logo. And then we're going to bring that logo into Photoshop and learn a couple tricks in there to kind of make your logo happen in Photoshop. So let's get started. All right, so let's start on paper now. I usually have a couple pieces of paper and I make a bunch of sketches. Today we'll just make a few. And I have a couple things. I will have a mechanical pencil. I'll have a regular pen, black usually, so I can kind of darken things up when I like certain things. And so what I do is I make a bunch of sketches. I usually make, depending on my client, I'll usually make like 8 to 10 sketches with ideas. Now, of course, this is a fictitious company that we're coming up with, and that being the case, I have my own company name and I'm going to come up with my own ideas. This is of course a skateboard company, so my company name is going to be Fate Skateboards, right? So I could do something with the F, I could do something with an 8, right? I could do something like that. So I have a lot of ideas that could possibly generate with using an F and using an 8. I could try to combine them together. So one thing I'll do is I'll just start off with some simple shapes just to get started. So maybe I will do some basic, a basic kind of F situation. I like that feel of speed, so I want to have angles. So maybe just some basic shapes, right? So something just super simple. I think I could do that probably in Photoshop without sketching that out. But again, you got to have some ideas. Maybe you like those kind of blocky things, but maybe you do a version where they become more pointed at the end. And so then you do the same kind of thing. You get this, I want this line, I'll make a light line here. I want that line to kind of line everything up. And so maybe I'll do something like that, and then I'll darken it in with pencil or pen, and just kind of, again, I'm just roughing it here. Something like that, really sharp, and maybe this right here makes a little slight circle, right? Maybe it's a bigger circle that happens here, and that's how I'm creating that circle, and then this is a straight line. So I kind of dig that. Notice how I drew a big, wide circle. If you have something around the house that you can use to kind of make shapes, so I'll use things like coasters, right? I'll have a coaster, and if I need to make look at that. I didn't plan that, but I'm digging this F, right? I'm digging this shape here. So maybe I'll fill this in, and I'm just going to turn this so I can this is why I like doing it on paper too, is I like to turn and so it's just kind of going along this circle right here. You can really emphasize that circle and kind of draw it in for yourself, saying, hey, I want that F to really be on a good line. And then maybe you have a straight line. I'll use another coaster, that kind of can give me that straight line going down. So again, if you don't have rulers and stuff, you can use just simple things around the house to help, and we're all around the house right now, and this helps me. Look at this. I can then line that up a little bit better. Of course, when I get it in Photoshop, it may be a lot easier to do. Oh, maybe this line comes down here and really mimics this circle. So, something like that, making a real, it's kind of a really abstract F, but dig that. I kind of like it. So maybe that's something to start with. You just got to start with little simple shapes, and then you kind of move on from there. Maybe I want to try to figure out how to get, so I'll do another one of those. Let me really use that circle with pencil. Do another one, and I'll try to figure out how to get the F in there too. So I know I want that, and then I know I want the F to kind of go along this line. Look at that. Now again, everybody's is going to be different because we're all doing different company names, but you see how I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of starting off. So then lightly, I'm gonna try to get this top one here and kind of do it again and just kind of see what I can do. And again, I'm using this circle just as a reference to, it doesn't have to, it's not going to be in the final thing maybe. And I do this, then this second one goes to the circle, right? And then I use it. Looks kind of like a fin too. This could be for a surf company. And then my third shape, it's kind of here like that. That's making a really cool F. I kind of dig that. So I couldn't do this by just downloading letters, off the internet. I have to draw this out, man. I want to make my own text when I'm creating my Fate logo. So something like that. Again, you'll make it better in Photoshop. And as we move along, a couple more classes from now, we're going to be an Illustrator. And Illustrator makes this process even better. You'll do the same kind of thing. Sketch it out on paper. Illustrator is just even a better tool to kind of make all this digital work happen. Maybe these 3 lines, these 3 blocks here to make the F. Look, I'm not fully coloring it. I'm just giving myself an idea there. I'll give the lines some real shape. Okay, so I got that bigger F. I kind of dig that. And then maybe because I've got this circle here, maybe the 8 is referenced in that. So now I've got a circle within a circle. So that was my original line there, and I'm gonna kind of create a line that goes like this. Don't know what that's gonna do, but maybe this is part of, I don't know, I may or may not like it. I definitely couldn't do a giant 8 here, it'd be too huge, but maybe I feel like it's a wheel or something. So maybe it's just a shape, and I could, right? Or maybe it's an A. Maybe I'm just spelling out Fate, and kind of will make an A out of this somehow. That's a possibility. Maybe it's just this secondary line that gets filled in. See, I'm kind of going back and forth between pencil and pen. When I get something that I like in pencil, then I kind of go back in. But I usually don't go with pen until I dig something. It could maybe work. I dig that. That could do something. I feel like it's got to come over here and connect. It's got to do a little opposite. So I kind of got to do it this way too. I'm not going to make that perfect, but so maybe the 8 somehow is in this shape. I don't know how I'd make it an 8. Maybe it's going to look like an eye if I do that, like a person's eye if I do this. So I don't really want to do that, but so you get the idea. And this is why I do this in pencil first, because I'm like, or pen, but I do it on paper because then I can really get some ideas. What if I just did the F a completely different way? Maybe I go some complete other direction. So I dig that. So that's one option. Let me do something else here. Maybe like a more angular thing. And notice I'm not making these really big, filling up my whole page. I'm just kind of, so something like this. And then maybe this comes down at an angle. And then maybe inside of the F is there. Goes this way. Like that. I really like messing with text and making them shapes. So I'm trying to come up with something that kind of does that. Ooh, I kind of know where this is. I kind of feel this here. So now I can really see how just pencil allows me to kind of just, I don't mind being sketchy with this because I can block it out better in Photoshop, right? It's maybe a little too tall. Maybe I'd want it squatter, but I'll get some big thick lines here just to kind of look at it. I kind of dig. This is connected to that. remember I'm kind of I want the feel of speed if it's a sports thing. So having this kind of italicized is good. I think it's a little long, and maybe this is a little long. Maybe this bottom part becomes shorter. So maybe I do another one that's shorter. So if I just kind of get my size, maybe I'll go a steeper angle with this and a little shorter. So I don't know. It's hard for me. I keep making that long. Maybe this goes this way. It goes over here. So instead of it short right there, maybe it goes longer. It goes back that way a little bit. You just kind of have to, and maybe this kind of goes back that way just to make something like that. So, right, I'm just basically kind of sketching out what could be an abstract F but have some cool shape. Again, you want it to, my only way that it's skateboard is that it's got the feeling of speed. I want it super simple, right? I want it legible. I want people to be able to know that it's an F or an F shape. And I want it to, and I could make an, whole word out of this. I'm digging that. I might use something like that. I could do something abstract with the 8 and try maybe something like diamond shapes or something. So maybe I kind of do some basic diamonds and have them overlap. Right? Okay, so could something like that. I feel like I've seen that before though. Somehow if the F could go in here, although fate, the 8 would be after that. So the F would have to be on this side over here, I guess. Or maybe you have to, maybe you kind of do something cool like this, where it's, maybe it spells fate. And you just kind of skateboards or something. Fate skate, I don't know. This shape allows you to kind of do something inside that space, which is kind of interesting. I like using objects to create other objects. So I'm somewhere here with this. I like that and that. So what I want to do is, my next step is take this sketch, and I'd probably do like 10 more of these, but for sake of time, I don't think we want to do that here, but you get the idea. So I'm really doing a lot of sketches, multiple pieces of paper, flip it over, write notes to yourself. What colors could these be? Could this be, like red, green, blue, whatever? You can always come up with different color schemes. Write down that stuff on this. This is a great space for you to kind of like do your work here. Okay, so then the next thing I want to do is just simply to get this to my computer, I just use my phone. So I'm just gonna, pretty clear. So I'm gonna do this one first. It's gonna look like it's blurry in the shot, but it's gonna be in focus. And I want to get straight on, and I want to have light. So I don't want shadows going across this. Make sure the paper's pretty clean. And I want to have enough light that I'm going to be able to see it. So that looks good. Okay. And then I like this up here. Maybe I don't like that thing right there, but whatever. I don't have to bring that into Photoshop. So I'm going to take a picture of that. So now I've got that one, right? I like this one too. So, right. So that's good. So let me go, oops. So I like this one too. So let me that one's pretty close to that one, but let me get that shape, right? Just in case. So just get whatever with this shape, I don't know that I need to get that. So I'll get that one too. All right, cool. Then I take these into Photoshop, right? I get them off my phone and into Photoshop. You're gonna have to be able to do that. So you can send these to yourself via email. You can send them, text, I basically can airdrop this from my phone to my computer because I have a Mac, so I can airdrop it. So however you get your pictures to your computer, do that now, and then we'll jump into Photoshop. Okay, now we're back in Photoshop, and I want to have a new document open. I'm going to make it 1500 by 1500 pixels. If this was inches, it'd be 5 by 5 inches, 300 resolution. I'm going to make my background white. and click OK. So 5 by 5 inches, 300 resolution, pixels per inch. And if this is pixels, it's 1500 at 300 resolution, background white. So I go right here, custom background, white. Let's click create. So I have a white square. Okay, so I have my images then from my camera, and you'll notice they're HEIC files. That is when I'm shooting live photos on the iPhone. And so what happens is when I'm doing that, this is a file format that some people have trouble opening. If you do have trouble opening, then Photoshop can read it. So if I drag this to the Photoshop icon, it's going to be able to read it. But if you have trouble opening it, there's a converter. Mac has a converter called iMazing, HEIC converter, and you just drop the file on there. You tell it what you want it to be, either a JPEG or a PNG, and make the quality high as it can go, right? Maybe get that up there as high as it can go, and you can convert it. So you can do that. There's probably a PC equivalent. I'm not quite sure. And so anyways, that gets saved in your files. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these to the Photoshop icon and open them up, because the new version of Photoshop should be able to open those. Again, some people have trouble with that. Okay, so notice they're in their own 3 tabs here. I did not bring those into the same Photoshop document. I have them kind of as separate tabs here, and then there's my Photoshop document. I want to go ahead and save that if you haven't already done that. And this is, keep the .psd on here. Logo test, whatever you want to do. Click save. And now what I want to do is take one of these and drag it with my arrow tool into Photoshop. So I'm going to take it, drag it, and drop it on there. It's going to be super big, so Command minus zooms you out. Command T is transform. Then I'm going to grab a corner, drag that down, keep it big. I want to keep this pretty large. I want it to fill up most of my screen here because it's for my logo. And then hit the check mark. Awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to draw over the top of this. So I want to add a layer, and I can actually go down to layer 1 and lower the opacity down a little bit to make it lighter if I need to. And I'll go back up to layer, and then I'll lock that so I'm not drawing on top of my drawing. And I'll go back to layer 2. And now what I want to do is I want to use, there's a couple different ways I can do this. I don't want to use a drawing tool like I just used on paper. I actually want to try to start doing this more graphically. So I'm going to use a tool that we haven't used before. It's called the pen tool. So I'm going to go right here. It's down on my toolbar. It looks like a calligraphy pen. You'll see that there's a few of them in there. There's the pen tool. There's a freeform pen tool. We're going to be using these when we get into Illustrator. So we're going to get used to it. So I'm going to use a pen tool. What a pen tool does is it draws vector shapes, and it's a little bit different. If I use the straight pen tool, it's a little bit different than the freeform. So I'll show you how the straight pen tool works, and then I'll use the freeform one as well. So what you do when you're using the pen tool is you make anchor points to click and drag. I'm going to click and make my first point, second anchor point. So these are called anchor points. We'll be using these in Illustrator. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click and this time drag. And look at that little blue line when I click and drag, how I can mirror that. And then I'm going to go back this way and click and drag. Now, you'll notice if I do that, look what happens to my point here. It kind of stinks. So I want to minus that. I want to undo that, Command Z. And I want to get rid of this anchor arm right here, this little anchor handle. So I want to click and minus that off by Option click, and that gets rid of it. Now I want to go back here and click and drag and finish this shape like that. Pretty nice. Okay, that's one shape. So here's what's kind of cool is I've got these two tools right here. I've got, after I've drawn that shape, I've got this Path Selection tool and Direct Select tool. Path Selection tool is almost like the Move tool where I can move the path. See, I can take that and move it. I'm going to put it back in place, get it as close as I can. And then the Direct Select tool allows me to directly edit these little anchors. So if I didn't get one exactly the way I want it, I could kind of edit it after the fact. We're going to be doing much more of that in Illustrator. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to open up a new window to turn these 3 paths into selection. So we're going to go to Window. We're going to open up the Paths panel. So that Paths panel is right here. You can see that the 3 paths that we made, each one of these shapes is now a path. They're indicated right there. And at the bottom of this panel, you're going to see a couple things here. I mean, we can make a mask out of this, right? But right here, you'll see this little dashed line right here. We can load path as a selection. Once I load path as a selection, then I can fill these with color. So I can go to Edit, Fill, or I could use my paint bucket, and I can fill them with black. So I've got that. Then I could go to Command D and deselect, and I've got those 3 shapes. I can move them around. The only issue is that all 3 of those shapes are on the same layer, and then I can't really edit them independently. There's a couple ways around that. One quick way around that is just right here, this little trick. So I'm gonna go back up to my toolbar. I'm gonna go to the Magic Wand tool, click on this very first top shape right here. You might have something like this. I'm gonna click this top shape, and then I'm gonna go to Layer, New, right up here, New, via Cut. Now that's on its own layer up there. Then I'm gonna go to this second one down here. I'm gonna Command D, deselect, go back to my original layer 2, right, that has that one on it, and I'm gonna go to Layer, New, via Cut, or Shift Command J. I'm gonna go, and then the third one I don't need to do it to because it's on its own layer. Now I can go to my Move tool, and I can move these individual shapes closer together if I want. I'm gonna turn this background off, and now I've got something there, right, where I can move these around independently, and I can kind of do that. I can't really edit these so well here because these shapes are not really dynamic shapes. So the only, I mean, I can do my transform obviously on each one of these. So I could do Command T on each one and kind of transform them, make them bigger, smaller, rotate them if I need to. I can do stuff like that, right? So I can kind of get that F looking a little bit better, get this a little closer, maybe something like that could be kind of cool, right? So that's one quick way to do this here. So I'm going to turn this off here and turn this back on. Another way, that's just using the pen tool. So another way is I'm going to actually take these 3 layers right here and group them, the ones that I just made, the paths, and then turn the eyeball off on that group too. And I want to make a new layer above this. So if you don't want to use the pen tool, you could get in and use the paintbrush tool, right? So you can go in, go to the paintbrush, go here, go to a hard round, make sure your opacity is 100, your flow is 100, and get this brush smaller. And you can get in and it's not as precise, but you can get in with whatever color. So I'm using white, and I can get in here and I can kind of, eyeball that, I guess, and get it in here and do it that way, right? Probably want to paint with black, obviously. So I go down here to my toolbar and I could zoom way in, right? And kind of mimic what I had going in here. It's not optimal to do this, but if you feel like that's something that you want to do, you could do it, okay? Not optimal, okay? That's just another way to do it. So a third way we could do this is to go to our Shapes tool, which if I may not see those on the toolbar, but I've got this rectangular tool right here, and I could use that. I could use the ellipse tool, I could use the polygonal tool, I could use the line tool. So the line tool, just straight lines, right? Pretty nice. Custom shape tool, you think that's what you would use, but it really isn't. That is pre-made shapes, so you don't want to do that. So there's this rectangle tool, could use that. When I use it, I want to go, I've got 3 choices up here. I've got shape, path, which is what we did with the pen tool, and then pixels. I want to pick shape, and you'll see why in a second. And then I want to go here, and I want to not have a stroke. So I'm going to pick a black, and it's not going to be the right shape yet, but I'm going to make a rectangle. Okay, it's nice. Now I'm going to go back to those tools we use with the pen tool. I'm going to go to that direct selection tool and I'm going to click, and I can click this anchor point, drag that down there. It's going to be a live shape now. I can click this anchor point and drag it up here. Can't see where that is. And I can do this anchor point and drag it down there. Kind of do that. Can't really make a round with this, but I can use some of these other things that we have here. So direct selection, I can go back to my anchor point tool and I could add an anchor on here. Now here is a way to make a round. I could add an anchor here and then see that little handle, and I can create round like that. So you can do something like this. So I could bring this back down, right? Once I have that other anchor, I could bring that back down. This one, now there's another tool called the convert tool. So I could move this anchor kind of where I want it. And I can go over here and you see that convert point tool? Click that, and then I can kind of convert that like that. So I can kind of get it close. And I need to go back to my direct select tool and I can kind of do this. So you can do it, right? You can kind of create it. I like to use the pen and fill it, but this isn't bad. Let me do it with the next one. Let's get that down. So I'm going to make a new layer, right? I'm going to make a new layer. Don't want to do these on the same layer. Let's do it with the second one. I can clean that one up a little bit better. So I'm going to go back down here to my three little dots. I'm going to pick my rectangle tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle about the size of this one right here, right? I know I got to turn it and whatnot. So now I can go to my direct select tool, start there. That's right, you got two tools in here. You got the path editor and you got the direct select. So I'm going to go to the direct select. I'm going to take this. I want to just click right on one of those anchors. See how this anchor and this anchor and this anchor turn white? I want to click on that anchor. I want to put it, it seems like a lot of work. Turns it into a live shape. Now I want to go here and kind of, maybe I'll do this one down here like that. Move this one kind of more into place. Kind of know I'm going to put that one there. Put this one down here now. Kind of find that one. That point was right there. Now I want to add an anchor up here. So I'm going to go back to this set of tools right there and add anchor point. Hover your mouse right on the edge of the path line. And now I can take this and move it. I can curve it slightly, but I can move it up. So I go back to my direct select tool, move it up. I added an anchor point. Since I curved it slightly beforehand, I put that curve in there, which was kind of nice. Now I want to convert this one, right? That one's a angular line there. So I want to go down here and I want to go to the back to my pen, convert anchor point tool, and click it. If I click this and drag kind of side to side, now it's a curved line. And now I want to go to my direct select tool and I can move this up or down, and I can just kind of fine tune these. You can use your arrows when you click on each one of these anchor points. If you use your arrows on your keyboard, you can move these incrementally. It's very small, but you can move them with your arrows on your keyboard. Very nice. So you can do it like this too. Some people like using that rectangle tool and just creating live shapes. On the layer, notice it has a little live shape thing right here. And I can, of course, go and change the fill color on all these. So I can say, hey, I want one red, and I want to go here, and I want to say I want that one black, green, I don't know, black, blue, whatever, dark blue. I can now use my arrow tool because these are separate layers, and I can just move them up into place, move them wherever I want. I can go back and edit that with the direct select tool. So this direct select tool is that gray tool. We're going to get familiar with that in Illustrator as well. I can go onto the red layer now and do that one too. So I can direct select and sometimes you just double click on it. And I want that anchor to be down there. So I'm just going to go and kind of mess with these. And this is a great way to edit this. It's way better than drawing because it's geometric, right? So it's going to be a much better drawing there. Go back to my move tool. If I want to move, I'm going to turn this background off. So you kind of can see now I've got these cool shapes happening here. They don't mirror each other enough, so I want to probably try to mirror them. Maybe my F looks like that and it doesn't have that third one down at the bottom. I kind of dig that. So that is how you do a drawing, bring it into Photoshop, use either the pen tool to create vector paths and select them and fill them, or use the rectangle shape tool, which is down here, and then use the direct select tool to edit the anchor points. Once again, this has been a Curtis Stage tutorial. We'll talk to you soon.